This morning, excuse me, as I had to wait for Julie to get out the door here. My son's in his room right now, but she'll be back in a little bit. She just had to take care of something. So we'll see how my son does. But for this morning live, I know it showed it was going to start tomorrow for some reason. That's why I put the comment saying, I don't know what YouTube's doing, but it's clearly not a live for 24 hours from now. But now it'll circulate to everybody and it'll show that it's live. So, but right now it's still that uneasy feeling in the micro. Excuse me. All of a sudden I got something like in my throat. In the micro time frame, what I think is developing is we could be a tad bit early on Ethereum, especially with the way the pattern setup is. You know, it shows a lot more promise when you get into like the first quarter of 2026. That doesn't mean that we're not going to go up before then. I'm just saying, like, when we get into the parabolic movement, it seems to be a little bit farther out. We could just be a little early. The micro time frames, even in the IoT tokens, look a little shaky at best. And that's why it's an opportunity that's present. But at the same time, like yesterday, I said I probably wouldn't buy at this point because I think there'll be better deals, and I still feel the same way. But that doesn't mean give up on everything you know, because we're still in that same consolidation to try to springboard into an alt season. We're early. It's just a tiny bit early, and I think it's showing that in the micro, and we just don't have the catalyst right now to propel us. Now that can change if we can get some kind of positivity out of somewhere. But another thing that continues to put some pressure on risk assets is the fact that, again, you know, like with the tariffs and stuff, just the onset and the ambiance of it, it's been escalated with Canada. So my brothers and sister in Canada, you know, you're waking up this morning seeing that those talks are becoming increasingly renewed, and it's going in the wrong direction. So what I'm seeing here is that micro still doesn't look good. It's the same warning I gave out a couple of days ago, not to tell you to sell your positions, but to tell you, hey, to have some capital on the side if this happens and doesn't go the way you might think it is. But in the macro, I have no doubt what's going to happen. It's the micro that right now is getting us. And I think the micro is the micro for a reason. It's very volatile. It doesn't mean that we have to continue breaking down, but it does show a head and shoulders pattern, and we just can't ignore it. Now, we want some upward volatility to invalidate this, but as of right now, that hasn't happened. All we've done overnight, all we've done in the last day or two is validate a micro move down to try to find more buyers. Look at it this way. We're trying to move up to the next layer for XRP, for example, into not only all-time highs, but the next time we go through it in a discovery, we don't have to clear back out. So now we're trying to find more of a base to help us push into unknown territories. But at the same time, you've got to have enough of the holders that are already there that are going to allow it to springboard into that next phase. Right now, I just don't see it. Not just XRP, I don't see it anywhere. I see a lack of buyers when it's most important. And that house, remember, the house that's built on quicksand, just because it builds another layer over the top, is it still not built on quicksand on the first layer? I think that's a lot of what we're dealing with in crypto right now. Overall, we're going to be fine, but we have to reformat the structure of where it all started. Because right now it's happening with very little volume, and that's always a scary proposition. We had one moment where, you know, even with XRP, where it looked like we were springing a little bit, but if you put it into reality, look at where we're at in volume back here. And this is something important. And until we can start to come back to these levels, you know, we might be premature. That doesn't mean it goes to hell. That doesn't mean you have to give up on crypto. What it means is you're in the accumulation side of town right now. And for some of them are not named XRP or Bitcoin, and Ethereum's up about 190% in the last, since it bottomed out in June. So that's at least come up a significant amount. But for a lot of these alt tokens, the ISO, the IoT, they're just setting up. It's still in the accumulation zone. And the accumulation zone's a painful one because where it's at right now, some of them have come up 100% from where they were at. You know, so it makes it a little more difficult. Yeah, IOTA's only at 19 whatever, or 20. What is it at right now? 1960, but it's still, in the grand scheme, if this is a failed daily, which it's not yet. It's not yet by any means. But if it did turn out to be that, I would say it's probably going to come down here. Like, this is meant to, I think, be a fake out. It almost looks like a bump and run now. Like, up, down, back around. You know, it's like, I don't even know if you could properly call it a bump and run. But it feels like it's a failed bump and run to where it's just going to, it could break down. And I could see some confluency coming all the way back down around 17, 1690. And that is the honest to God truth. You know, and it's a weird moment because with that daily time frame the way it is, you'd like to say, oh, it's just going to hold it. But what I'm seeing in the smaller time frames is like, oh. It can turn around very quickly, and that's why we call them the lower time frames, and you kind of got to base it off of a higher spectrum. But we like to also lay out forward-thinking sections just in case we do go down there. So what I would say here, it's not that you have to sell if you have IOTA, especially if you're looking at this from the long standpoint. What I would say is that we come take a price label out, and you get some, if you have capital to the side, and you're looking to make snipe additions to what you're looking to do, I would say you target that area down there, and then that could be a snipe. That could just be another section where you're looking to add to the bag. You know, so, and we could go through the board and start looking at that. For XRP, I highly suggest you look elsewhere if you haven't entered at this point. But, you know, to each their own. And people are like, well, how can you always say this, Tom? God. And they get so mad. Because I felt like XRP was the right buy at 35 and 50. Anything under $1 was the right buy. But with XRP, you're really tempting the mold when you start buying it, especially when it's over $3. Because it's destined to it's going to come down. I mean, it's just going to come down. And like, I have layers where I think it's going to go. And I'm not a financial advisor, remember. If you're watching right now that we've got 88 people coming here, now that YouTube's starting to push it out and not saying it starts tomorrow. I'm not a financial advisor. And hell, this is for entertainment purposes only. You watch the WWE, right? But it's entertainment. You watch the NFL, it's entertainment. Even though you'd like to think it's real, it's still entertainment at the end of the day. Because there's going to be a fixed outcome that we can't control. So it's gambling. That's what it is. But we're trying to put ourselves in the best position going forward, knowing the gamble on humanity is we're going digital. And we're betting on that digital sphere. So these are the two big levels that I look at. I think 250 is going to hit at some point. I don't know when. But I do think that's an area that will hit. Those are gap areas to the core. And I know $1.50 technically filled on the top end, but I still call bullshit on that. Only because it never came down to where it needed to. And with my experience, these levels tend to fill almost all the time at some point. And in the short term, I would very much be looking for $2. And if we came below that $3 level, that's our saving grace. That $2.98, the $3 level, if we're on top of that level, we are looking golden. But it still feels early. You know, it does feel early. As much as I want it to just be now. Because there is evidence that we could do something in the daily, but it's still in that micro movement. We're not getting the volatility we need in the right direction. Every single time we get to a certain level, we break down, we incite our fellow retail traders. It goes back up 7 to 10%, but it still never catches up to the previous level. And I feel like now all of a sudden we've been watching that with XRP since $3.60. Then it goes to $3.30 and bounces to $3.54 and everybody gets excited. Goes down to $3.20, bounces back to $3.44 and everybody's excited. Goes to $3.05, bounces back to $3.33 and everybody gets excited. Bounces down to $2.98, bounces back up to $3.25. Everybody. And now here we are at $3.09, bounces back up to $3.17. Now back right back. And it's like we're starting to either, we're compressing for a macro movement out of proportions here. Or we're showing the signs of a bearish lack of momentum in the micro. And we're just simply going to find more of our friends just a little bit lower. You know, the guys who missed their ride and they're sitting down here saying, I can't buy. But if it comes down here, I'll certainly take a shot. You know, our friends down there. That's, I think, who we're looking for. And right now, we got to be careful, because if this continues, we're building, you know, not so pretty of a short-term pattern. So basically, if you're watching this morning, if we break this level at, we can use the wick where it came down to 297, 296, but you know, it's one of those things. We can't ignore what we're seeing on the chart just because we want that macro realization. This is where do I think IOTA is going to outrun XDC or the other way around? Impossible to say. I'd say don't limit it to just that thinking. I would say if you're asking yourself that question, why not have both? And do a little case study of your own and see what happens. But no, I'm seeing a micro where unless we need some volume. We really do. I hate to sound like that guy, but we need volume. And we need Ethereum not to break this. Because right now this is starting to look like it really wants to come back down and test. Again, somewhere lower, but even in the volatility, it's still holding this range, which is great. It's just every time we're making new lows and not necessarily a new high. And that makes it interesting. At least in the micro. In the macro, we still are a high, higher high, a low, higher low. So until this lower high breaks in the wrong direction, that's why it's imperative that we don't start making a new low here and then start turning this into something crazy like a topping in the short term. You know, because that's what ends up happening. The short term is just that, but it can lead to some longer conclusions, you know, retroactively. And the fact that we came up so strong and that we are kind of early on this breakout, like to me, I keep saying it, I think that first quarter of next year, let's see, I think that first quarter of next year is technically kind of like, I think that's where it should properly break out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it came back in, but I'd also be ecstatic if it broke out. But I think it'd be, I think it's only right to talk about that in both regards. Like we can be positive and look for the early breakout, but we also got to realize like it still is a breakout that's a little bit early. And these ultra volatile movements aren't helping. Because eventually if it caves through in a hard way. But right now, we're still on the top side. I still say 3,558. If you're over that, you're fine. And this could still be a nice reversal here. But just, I want the overview. I want everybody to have the whole view, not just the short view. Micro, yes, little dangerous. Macro looks great. Macro, even if it takes a little while, it still looks great. We're getting all the things we need in the perspective. So, let's see. Jesse, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens, along with Dan Marginal. Thank you both so much. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. I think it's circa 2019. Let's see. Defined Group, welcome in, and thanks for being not only a very trusted mod in here and on the Telegram, but thank you also for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Bigfoot, welcome in. Breathe, good morning. D. Rojas, welcome in, and thanks for being the #1 top fan in this live. Excellent. XRP Rippers, welcome in. Hello, Tom. How did your workout go in the gym? Great. Great, it's Thursday, so you feel a little bit worn out because it's the 4th day of the week out of 5 to work out. Then you get the 2 days off. But by day 4 and 5, it gets a little strenuous, you know. But that's where mind over matter comes in. Good workout, though. Good workout. Waiting until 12 o'clock so I can get some protein and stuff in my body. You know, right now it's from the fasting. I'm at like, what, 14 hours and 45 minutes. Sometimes you get a little shaky. but you get the hunger pains. But that's usually when your body's in ketosis a little bit more, and or the insulin's being released more. But you're into more of a fat burning mode. But like the market right now is in shedding some of the in a similar situation right now. But like I like to talk about it because I don't want anybody to be surprised at all. I want you guys to know the truth, and that's why we can set up for better buys. But I just didn't think yesterday was the appropriate time to make the buys. Like if you went in the market, I didn't think it was the right buy. Like there's opportunity, but you'd have to be ever so quick on the in and out, and you see what I mean. There was some very volatile swings. It's for a reason, though. They need the liquidity. You can see it. We need liquidity. I would still also keep an eye on XLR. Like, give yourself an opportunity. This is one that I'm going to feast on. This is one I pay attention to. It's just like we've got some levels here that how low can we possibly go in the shorter terms? Like, XLR is in a weird spot because it failed its daily breakout. Some of the other ones might as well. It hasn't failed it in the 100% sense, but in the short term, it failed to break the 200 and it failed to hold the 20, and it's had a couple candles that have closed now or could close under the 20-day, which is interesting because that could end up being a very bearish signal in the short term. But I think with the partnership with Ripple, the lack of tokens in totality being 1/100th of what Ripple's going to have at the end of the day. If this does fall to the next layers, there's simply no reason not to pay attention to it. Even if it doesn't. Like, there's reasons to pay attention to this token. And you've seen, when we say we need volume, that's what I mean. Look at that volume spike. And look how much it's selling off without much volume. So that leads you to believe that it's not just with XLR, but this is market-wide, this manipulation. Isn't it ironic that everything, if you're new, just think about this, and why we say it's a casino-like and it's gambling, and why they want you to take out leverage, because isn't it funny how everything looks good at the same time, and then everything pulls back at the same time? And now if Ethereum bounces back a few dollars here, everything's going to bounce up at the same time. It's like, how on earth, if it was not manipulated, can it all move at the exact same time? Like every single thing, no matter how good it looks, no matter how bad it always ends up doing the exact same thing. That's what makes it difficult, especially from a leverage sense. But it makes it a lot easier from a spot perspective because you just look for the moments of manipulation. Like even today, if you weren't in, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to wait for that moment today where the market's just going to drop for no reason. Well, you just got a moment where it did that. Now, whether that's an indicator of what's to come, or just a short-term burst to shake people out, that's the fun part of being in spot. You can continue to build no matter what. Especially if it's in a rotational section where you think it's the right time. You know, that's why it's hard to come in blind. Like a lot of people come in blind and what should I do? I got X amount of dollars, but where should I put it? If I was you, Tom, you know, and the best thing I can say is no matter how you word it, just because you say, Tom, I know you're not a financial advisor and we're just talking as friends, but if you had $10,000, where would you put it? That's the same thing as saying, Tom, I have $10,000. Where should I spend it? It's the exact same thing. You're just wording it in a different way. It doesn't change the fact that I'm going to give you financial advice in that regard. If you ask me and I give you a statement, you know, so, you know, there's that part of it too. Let's see. John Knowles, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge and me being abducted by aliens. Ben B in the Cannabis Podcast, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. CJ2 Pilot and Mo, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Alec Tony, good morning and thanks for being in Tom's Army 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Love that you shared that emote as well. Dan Marginow is the #2 top fan along with Define and probably a whole slew of people. They need to do the system a little bit better so it's easier to recognize. Marty says Tom's only YouTube crypto guy actually knows what he's talking. No crap, pure honesty. Hey, I love that. Thank you. I love that. I appreciate it. That's a nice vote of confidence this morning from Marty. I love it. Let's see. Shane, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. Good morning, John Bugathorpe. So appreciative of you, my friend. I know you're in the Army. It just doesn't show it every day for some reason. I really appreciate you too, my friend. Nazar, welcome in. You think IOTA is going to outrun XTC or the other way around? Unless I was a wizard and I had a crystal ball, you know, who the hell really knows? But they're both going to do extraordinary things. They both do opposite things. So like I've said, I don't limit it to one or the other. Like you guys all want to have a comparison between, hey, Tom, is this going to run faster than that? How the fuck do I know? Excuse my language. How would I honestly know? Even if something doesn't outrun something in the beginning, what if at the end it outruns it? What if XRP right now looks like it's outrunning the entire market, but then the entire market outruns it? You know, you just simply don't know. But I think XDC with the R3 corridor and so many other things hits one side of what we're talking about. And then IOTA with the Internet of Things being a mainframe token hits a completely different side of things. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. This is like having an apple and an orange and asking me a question saying, is the apple going to outlive the orange? Or is it going to reproduce faster? I don't know. All I know is they both serve their purpose in a very nice way, you know, and very beneficial to our health. Both of them are, but they both serve a purpose. None's better than the other, and none's going to rise faster. They're just going to do and serve their purpose. And that's why I think XDC, I think IOTA in the right spot is a great buy. Somebody said to me the other day, Tom, I was going to buy XDC, but when you said, well, if I'm going to buy it here at 10 cents, why didn't you buy it at 7 cents? So now I'm not going to buy. That's a logical question, because if you didn't buy it 23% ago, now you got to potentially wait for a collapse that you could have had 23% gained. And then instead of being down 1/4 of your portfolio you bought with, you could be buying it the moment it goes down there, below it, and then you can be in control. That's why I asked those questions. I've asked the same question with XRP. If you've been watching with me and you didn't buy it 35 cents when I begged, even at 50 or under $1, why are you buying it at 309? Is it simply because you're afraid of what you've missed? Because with that logic, you're just going to get in a short-term kick in the, you know what? And seriously, I mean, it's not easy. That's why I try to target other ones. But even with other ones, the honest to God truth is they've come up so far. So now you put yourself in a position where, yeah, we're still technically bear market-ish. But from where we started, we did a thing on here with FOMO Fridays, Winning Wednesdays, where we're buying $50 a week, $50, and then we turned it into 2 days, $50 each day. Well, we bought different tokens and built them up to 10,000 tokens. This was one of them, just with that philosophy together, around 4 or 5 cents. And now you're talking about even from here, we've already done this, though, in this rotation. We already did, if people followed my lead, we already did this and sold out up here. And now the only question we have is, where are we going to buy it back to try to ride it to the promised land? And that's where we're having the struggle of, where would you buy it and hold? Well, logic said when it rotated down here, we got excited again. But now what ends up happening is, even when we get excited about it, it ends up going up 120%, 100% from there. And now more people get excited. It's like, Tom, would you buy it here? Well, I mean, you make it very difficult after 100% move, because now I know there's a huge bound of consolidation. You know, even if it pulls back, let's just, for instance, say to 19 cents. We're still, let's say you bought it at 13 on that double bounce, or somewhere close. At least you're up about 40%, even if you didn't buy it on the bottom. Now look at the difference. If you buy it here and it rotates down and back test down there to the 50% or 60 percentile zone, now those people are still up 40, 50%, and you're sitting at a 23% loss. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but there's a chance it can happen. So it's a very different feel. And it's not any more bearish or bullish than the person who bought it in the lower zone. They're just buying it somewhere where it's got potential. And then if it falls to a certain level, they're still in profit. But the point is, if you listen to my philosophy, when you get up here 130, 50%, you're selling out to get your money back. And if that means you got to buy twice as much or 50% more, so when you sell out 100% at profit to get your initial investment back, you've still got what you wanted, well, that's what you got to do. You know, but you still got to take your profit back, because then you're not asking yourself these questions right now. If you just simply take your profit at every 100% when it gets there and you take your initial investment back, and like I said, whether that means you got to buy twice as much as you planned, and you got, if you want 10,000 each bar for long term, and you got to buy 20,000 initially just so when you sell 100%, You still have your initial bag. That's what I do. And then it pays off that, gives me an additional money. I'm feeling good. Sometimes I even hold it longer. Like you've seen with XRP, I hold the second bag way longer. It just depends where we're at. And then you don't have to deal with it if you got those micro transgressions where you're like, oh my God, every time down, I can't do this. Well, at least you paid yourself back and you can do it because it's on the house's dime. It's much easier. Just like at the casino, isn't it a lot easier to gamble once you win a few $100s, even if you lose it back? You're like, ah, I'm back to where I was at when I started, even though that's stupid mindset. But still, that's how it works. You want to take away the gambling side of it, because once you ignite the gambling side, it becomes very dangerous. You start to spiral out of control. It's not this that I've seen it, it's happened to me. You know, I wasn't always at this level. I was very much an amateur for a very long time. So right now we just gotta let it play. The daily still looks fine. H bar is on top a little bit from where some of the other ones were, but it could be that it's just a tiny bit behind the movements. Like we want in the dailies, this is fine because we haven't made a new low. This is still shakeout right now. It's still shakeout. And this is where you can make a plan like, hey, I think the daily time frame is going to play out. So then you would put a little buy here and then a little more where I put it there. Or if it breaks over the top, if you put a little bit here, then if it breaks out and it looks like it's confirming your buy, then you can buy a little bit more over the top. You know, there's a... But we very much have to have a plan. This is very much have to have a plan. Yeah, August is technically never usually that typically good, but, you know, we'll see. And thank you for being in Tom's Arm for 6+ months, AUB. Appreciate that, Aub. Tom, what's the deal with volume candles on XRPH? Is that bots? Oh, probably. This is all, they all seem like it. But, like, also, if you go, it depends what chart you look at. So, I have this chart on because there's less of those weird spikes and makes it a little easier. But when we didn't break out here, it meant we were early, and now we could come back and get another great buy here. Who knows? It could fall through, and we could just be able to eat this up for very little. I don't know. Because the market seemingly is early. And just with what's going on, hold on one sec. What's going on in the market? Come on, Rose. 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 Okay, sorry about that. But my cat, you know how it is. So, let's see. Nazar, welcome in, and I hope I answered your question, friend. Both. Don't be subjective to one. Both with XDC and IOTA. Let's see. D-Roz was talking to Jorge, welcome in, and thanks for being a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram and being in Tom's Arm for 6+ months with the XRP Predictor. I greatly, greatly appreciate that, my friend. Greatly, greatly appreciate that. Says, hello, people. Hello, Tom. Everyone hit that like button and subscribe to Tom's channel for the best TA on YouTube. And you got to trust him. He's been in Tom's Arm for 6+ months with the XP Predictor. No, but he does a great job in here. I really appreciate everything you do, my friend. Kryptonian, welcome in. That's the guy right there. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So Bad. You forced me to do research on Axelar. And one day you're going to thank not just me, but you're going to thank him, because without him, I wouldn't have done the research. So, good morning to you, my friend. Let's see. Rick, welcome in. Rick's been here for so long. Rick's seen past cycles. He knows how this works. He's not afraid right now, are you, Rick? Thank you for being a very, very trusted mod, my friend. I really appreciate you. Says he's the #2 top fan as well. I wish YouTube did a better job, though, of explaining that. Craig Carlson, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. Craig, I also thank you for sticking around from the beginning now. You've seen a lot of stuff over the last 6+ months. I remember when you first started, and now I think you're in the flow, and I think you understand this market at a more finite level as well. See, you're one of the ones who came in the early, well, not, but before the previous stage, and then now you're able to talk from experience too when people are asking questions. See, I love how it rotates. Love how it rotates. Did I ever look into Omni Network? Slightly, but not as much as I should have. I keep getting distracted, so I'm glad that you said that. Let me write that down on my phone. Now, screw that. I'll do one better. I'm going to just put it on here so I'm forced to look. There we go. I'm going to keep that on there. Oh, we have to talk about the FOMC too. Some of this volatility to the downside. It should have been expected, though. We knew, at least we felt like we had a strong understanding that we weren't getting rate cuts until September. We had a minute chance of getting it at this meeting, but I really thought we weren't getting it until, we got closer to Q4, which in September makes sense. Because now by the September meeting, and I thought it was very clear too, and I said it yesterday jokingly before they announced it, and the day before, but it ended up being exactly what he said. I said what Powell's going to come out and say is he's going to blame it on Trump's tariffs. He's going to say we need more data, the unemployment rate, yada, yada, yada. He's going to use the same nonsense he always does. That makes no sense. And he's going to say we don't have enough data, and due to the increased demand on, or the strain on finance, or however the hell he was going to phrase it, because of tariffs, the uncertainty surrounding them, we can't possibly know what the true level should be yet. So we're going to need to wait to see the data. And in September, we feel more confident that we'll be able to cut rates or yada, however they spun it. I didn't even watch it. I didn't need to. I knew exactly what they were going to say because they always say the same nonsense. The next one is the one I'm interested in September. That's when I believe there's going to be a real rate cut in September. I truly believe that. If they don't do it in September, I'm going to be shocked. I would have been shocked if they would have did it yesterday. So the markets are reacting, but this is good. I'm glad they didn't do a rate cut, because now if the market panics, the best thing that could ever happen to us is it over panics and it drops like 20%. Because then it'll build itself up leading into it. So if we could get some kind of significant 1/5 drop across the zones, oh my God. And I'm not saying that's what we want or need, but I'm saying if we did, my dear Lord, you think you were going to make a lot of money now. If that happened, you're going to have such a big opportunity. It's going to be insane. Ripple is also SHX's biggest endorser. Oh man, I wish Stronghold was available on more places. And I have a question, like, what happened on one of these exchanges? I don't know if this is a fuck up, but I seen this too, and somebody posted in the Telegram. I'm reading through it this morning. I'm like, there's no way that this can be real. And then somebody posted it on here as well. Where's it at? Somebody I know posted it in here. Yes, right here. Because I read this too. BTCC. I mean, this either is an error. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at all the things that, and I don't endorse this. I get hit up by these assholes all the time to promote their stupid exchange. And they're willing to pay us influencers for this one. I was never approached by BITUNIX to promote them. They never said, we'll pay you money. I know somebody that works there through a contact now, but I was never approached by them to be paid. That's why I don't advertise it. That's just what I use. But these other exchanges, this is one of them that actually offers me money to advertise it if I was willing to. So I stay away from it. Anyone that's offered me money to advertise, I tend to stay away from in my own personal usage. I'm not going to advertise it for money. is the bottom line. But I still won't use it because there's got to be liquidity problems if they're willing to pay me money as an influencer. But look at this. How is this possible? So you're just going to tell me they're going to delist all of this? ADA, Anchor, ARB, which is Arbitron, Atom, AVAX, BCH, Bitcoin Cash, BNB, Bitcoin, Ethereum, File, Ethereum Class. Look at go, hello? What the hell? You're really going to delist all this? XRP. Look at all this. They're just going to delist all this off their exchange. This doesn't even make sense. This has got to be some kind of error. We apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. Starting from the time of this announcement, deposit and withdrawal services for the above tokens will be temporarily suspended. Starting from the time of announcement, which means, what does that mean? You can't withdraw any of this? And then it's going to be delisted? I don't know what's going on here, but it seems like the BTCC is about to rug pull the entire holders on this exchange. And I have said it from the beginning. I don't trust this exchange because they want me to advertise, and they keep coming after me for like a year now, offering money over money over money. This is one of the bad money I talk about that I could make. And what is this? This can't be real. This has to be hacked. There's no fucking way. Like, look at all of this. There's no way. This has to be by error. Look at all these. These are all the major ones here, too. That's crazy. Did you do what you had to do?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I already put it on my car.
Good, good, good.
Put it on the park.
Good job, my love. You took control.
Sit. Now
And then I wanted to... Something somebody said yesterday was, you know, it pretty much sums up what we do here. And I'm going to read this. I meant to read it yesterday. But XRP Ripple Z, he's here too, so hopefully he's not mad that I read this. He said, Tom, I just want to say thank you. I've been following you for 4 years now, and because of that, I finally have money. Bonus one for me, because hearing somebody has made abundance is what I've been trying to do all along. When I look back at 2021, I was broke. No nights out with friends, no new clothes for years, and the same cheap sneakers day after day. Man, it sounds like my own life in the past. Back then, I was 88 kilo. I don't know what that means, 88 and 116. I'm American. I'm an idiot. So let's see. We still have the old out. 88 kilograms, 2 pounds. Yeah, we're dumb here in America. We don't even use metric system. We use centimeters. We use miles per hour, not kilometers. So we're idiots. I don't know what that means. So 194 pounds. Is that right? 88 kilograms. Is that right? Now I'm 116 kilograms. Okay, that makes sense. Money made me fat. But you inspire me. The way you show up at the gym every single day, you're more than a friend. You're like my favorite uncle, a true mentor. It might not be politically correct in this day and age that I'm Uncle Tom. Can't help my name. But yeah, I've let myself go physically, and that needs to change. When I watch your videos and you talk about gym, they light a fire in me. You make me want to train, take control, and get my health back on track. Next week, I'll most likely become a dad for the first time, and it feels amazing knowing I can give my little princess the safety and stability she deserves. That thought alone makes me emotional. No more stress about money. Thanks to the 20,000 XRP, I believed in you. Honestly, it brings tears of happiness to my eyes. And oh man, Uncle Tom, the new people in this group have no idea what's coming, not until they see XDC in the future. This is how abundance is created. Look at this guy. Took a leap of faith with 20,000, and he bought those 4 years. I mean, you're talking about sub 50, I'm assuming, as easily his average, maybe even sub 40, knowing the steps. So you're talking about a $3,000 to $6,000 investment, probably at max. You could talk maybe, because he bought 20,000, 8,000. I don't even think he's probably. I think he probably paid somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 per 10,000. So he's somewhere probably between 6,000 and 8,000 deep into XRP, and it's made him $60,000. You want to talk about a change of fortune? And I'm going to assume, because he's been watching me, hopefully he's taken some of that back and he's now flipped it into something else and took his initial investment, and now he's creating abundance and other things at the same time and understanding, because it sounds like he is. So That's what it's all about, though. And now that it's in the next different cycle, he sat through it for years and years and years. What's TT doing?
He took it actually up and put it back in the drawer and closed it for Mom.
He did? Aw, you put stuff away for Mama? Well, that was nice. So, I mean, that's what we're trying to build with abundance. That's why it's, you know, it can't be for I, it's got to be for all of us. Because there's so many different stories like that in different ways. And it's actually pretty inspiring. Helps me continue to do what I do. Hi, buddy.
You gonna say
You want
hello?
to come see everybody? Here's little guy. You see yourself up there? Yeah, I know. You're touching my screen. That's okay. You see yourself? Yeah, you're going to touch the screen? Huh? No, he's okay.
You're showing him what to
He's
see.
showing this him touching this for a second. You say hi to everybody? You a little sensitive this morning? He might give you all, he likes to see what
news.
everything is. There you go. Thank
Very
you.
helpful.
And he put it back to the chart after the main screen. Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
That was important.
Lonzo find it. Yeah. My investment partner has an XRP bag like that same size. See, that's awesome. That is awesome. Tom, I just burst out laughing at the Uncle Tom reference. I had read his comment. Well, trust me, I've been dealing with this since I was a kid. Although, you know, people made fun of me because I was Middle Eastern and Italian, and they would call me the sand, you know what, and the sand flea and the sand Negro and all this other stuff. So I got made fun of a lot. So, you know, what can I say? But yeah, the Uncle Tom thing has always been funny. Always been funny. But yeah. Ask yourself, is my crypto worth buying this? Or ask yourself, is my crypto worth buying? Yeah. That's true. I agree with that. With XDC, where's TT at, Julie? Right now? Even at 64 degrees? I know. Everybody here, it's been 90s, high 80s, low 90s, even close to 100 for the past like 2 months. Now all of a sudden today it's 64 degrees.
How'd you get the door open?
But XDC, I mean, doesn't look bad in the daily. Still looks fine. I mean, I'm not... Even if the short term were to not go our way because it's in the 4 hourly showing a little bit of a bearish tendency, I just think there's an opportunity to be had even if it comes down. Sure, it could be topping out a little bit. Maybe it does come down. Maybe it breaks through. But overall, we've got so much farther to go with XDC. You know what's funny? I seen one of my videos from 4 years ago. 4 years ago. And I wonder if I could pull it up here because it was in the members only section. Even though it's not just for members only, it just ends up in that section. When I share things sometimes. What was this at? Wow, that was from 4 years ago. That's when I was calling for the imminent collapse. That's so funny. But look at the price here. The point is, where's XDC? I seen it when I did this.
You need to cook too, or just pants? I'm not gonna turn on the water.
I'd probably put on his light jacket. I mean, look at DGB. I mean, this is why it's like being caught up in that. Look at XLM all those years ago. But look at the difference where XRP's at compared to the rest. Like Algo even here was at $1.07. And this is when it was already breaking down. You know, look how high these prices are. You know, that's why when you start looking at stuff from the past, it's like, Jesus, God. Look at all the people that are just getting crushed. I hate it. Where's this at? I wish it would had the other one on here. I think it might be here. Yes, it is. Look at XDC. This is XDC all the way back in 2021 at 5.3 cents. You know, now this is a long time ago, and I got a lot of slack because I wouldn't buy anything, and I said I'm not buying nothing, and everything that I even was gonna trade, I liquidated. And it was the volume. It's the same thing that kills us now. And this is where everybody's like, how can you not buy stuff? All goes at $1.04 and XRP's at 88 cents. And what are you talking about? You're liquidated. They used to get pissed. But I mean, when you go back and see the prices, it's amazing sometimes. Because the prices when Bitcoin was at 39K, like algo was at $1.04, $1.05 when Bitcoin was at 39K. Bitcoin's at 100. I mean, it's insane. 118K and algo is at 25 cents. XDC's at least at 9.8 cents, so it's at least put on a little bit here. But look, Bitcoin was at 39K. DGB was at 5 cents. Now it's at 0.008. X1 was at 33 cents. Now it's at 40. Like, what happened? At least that's up. I don't even remember what it said IOTA was at, probably plus $1 in that screenshot, but it's like at some point this will write itself out. And I'm not like, what are you supposed to do, guys? Are you going to keep buying and selling in the same rotation? Or are you just going to let the micro, if it does go down, let it do what it's got to do? That's the bottom line. If the micro goes down, it goes down. But from a macro perspective, you'd be adding into your micro positioning. That's all it is right now, because all of this looks like a big, hey, let's liquidate and do all of this. Like, I know H bar's up 2.4, but it's come down from 6 point something. So if you bought it just because it was running, you find yourself down 4% and selling the position. It happens all the time. That's why you try to find these bearish movements. That's all I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to target the C, and it's the end of the month. So as far as it goes for XRP, we know 1 billion tokens come available tomorrow at 12 a.m. And it's going to be volatile. We see it all the time. So typically, the rest of the market will be volatile. But XDC right now, it's on the verge of being a little more bearish. But at the same time, if it can just pull up here just a little bit. I mean, and when I say a little bit, it could continue this movement. All we have to do is be on the top side of this 987. So if you have XDC, there's some people will sell it here because it's the resistance. But if this does play out in a flag setting, you know, we've got enough room up here to get us plus where this resistance is. It's tough, and I know in the micro it doesn't look the greatest, especially in the last couple of candles, because yeah, it looks like it needs to come back down and at least test. First test will be here, probably at 974. And the 30, I mean, we came through the first big test. So yeah, I can understand if you are like, no. But if you're looking at it from a macro, you just got to find your positioning. Like, if this is too risky because it's at the resistance structure, then you got to wait for it to come to a support structure, or get on top of this resistance structure and start using it as support. Otherwise, you're at the biggest resistance spot or the greatest support area until it comes up to 14.8 and once it gets above. So this is where it might not hurt to cost yourself 3 or 5% and wait for it to play out if you can't stomach sitting in, you know, if it does consolidate. But my son and Julie went outside. I want to go hang out with them. But nothing changes from yesterday. Look for opportunity. If you're looking to increase bags, do it at strategic areas. If it doesn't go there, you've got a bag for a reason. And you don't have to overstress yourself out. That's all. Oh, is that the case? Okay, well, that would be better. Exactly, the Gatman. Filecoin was over 200. And it's at $2.45. Ego was at 400 at 1470. Yep. And it's like the ISO and IoT tokens got hit particularly hard in all of this. Wedged, flat on resistance. Could be. We'll see how this plays out, but it's still in the daily, it's bullish. Where it's at right now, very bullish. Making a leap in the buying and sending in this market can give anxiety. I am still trying to get used to pulling the trigger on some moves. Oh, that's understandable. Especially if you're buying and trying to send it elsewhere. But like when you look at that setup overall, that doesn't look bad. That looks good. Looks like a nice bottom. And the one good thing about this with XDC as well, we got this huge exhaustion wick. Now, sometimes, yeah, it has been known to where it will creep down there and then find its way through. I'm aware of that. But right now, we have 1, 2, almost like a triple bottom over exhaustion here. For whatever reason, we had a big liquidity and it ate itself back up. But you basically have 3 bottoms there. I mean, I don't know if it's going to do that 4th exhaustion phase, but I'm just being overly sensitive to the market movement right now and telling everybody, like, set up a strategic buy spot if it does fall through. If Ethereum doesn't hold on and it does come through a little bit, make sure you find a strategic buy zone. Like for me, the strategic buy zone for this, if it can get down here again, that's another strategic buy zone. And yeah, that's about 50% down from here, but that's why it's a strategic buy zone. So, yeah, scared to death when holding USDT like a ticking time bomb. Yeah, I don't know, USDT at some point, but remember that's gaining momentum via the bigger markets now. So there's something to be said about that utilization at least. But yeah, but we'll continue updating this. I'm going to be live again tonight. This isn't to scare anybody or to tell anybody to buy. This is more to be observant from the micro to the macro and see just how big of a difference it is and why it is so vital to hold spot. Guys, even if you have to go into 2x, it's a problem because you get that gambling mindset. Just don't own as much stuff. Let's say you want to own 30,000 X IOTA, but by doing that, it's going to cost you a position in, I don't know, fucking VeChain. That's a bad one because that's an IoT token. It'll cost you a couple million tokens or a couple thousand tokens in Band or Dent. You know, don't go to 2x on IOTA just because. Or 2x on one of those. Just build into those spot positions until you get to where you want. Spot is king for a reason. It is for a reason. And DGB is in that same fundamental setup right now where it's basically gone down about as far as it can to keep this intact. So now if we're going to have, that's where we can get the extreme volatility that I'm crossing my fingers for on all these tokens. I'm crossing my fingers that this extreme volatility comes soon instead of a wave down. Just because in the daily, it could happen. So if it can hold this, we got a significant move coming. If it breaks down, you'd be looking at a more targeted zone to re-add at 0071. But that's where we're at, guys. If you haven't watched it from the beginning, I encourage it. Highly, I encourage it. Thanks, everyone.